Indigenous Rights Radio, because knowledge is power.
The diplomatic conference to conclude an international legal instrument relating to intellectual property, genetic resources, and traditional knowledge associated with genetic resources is taking place from Monday, May 13th to Friday, May 24th, 2024. So, Ulukoa Duhaylonsod from Hawaii is with us, and we'll be talking to him to find out more about his involvement at the conference.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Aloha, have a day. My name is Dietrix Jon Ulukoa Duhaylonsod. Nohona ka halima yau, ka he kuoni hanau, pai momona o hani o malalo o manawahua me mauna kapu. Tamo loku itsu, Dr. Mariana's family members and Mangaf Bitut, and Dr. Gi Ukudu and Hagatnya Tidsin and Tomo. So I'm here with specifically under Ka'uikio Kapo and Ho'olahani'o and Halokiavi Kupono Ka'ua, our Native Hawaiian organizations, and then Adahi Manaotao-ta and the Adahi Coalition is our Indigenous Chamorro organization. So, yeah, mahalo for having me.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you spending the time with us. So let's kick off with the following question. We're celebrating, commemorating rather, a very important day next week on May the 22nd. So it's called the International Day for Biological Diversity. Can you break down for us what biodiversity means to you personally, what it means to your community and your culture?
Yeah, sure. So, I like to zoom out a little, and I personally feel like most people throughout the world, they don't realize how vital biodiversity is for us, for our survivability. When we talk about needing and protecting biodiversity, I think most people think that, they frame it that we're being, good people of this world by taking care of other plants and animals and, doing what we can. But what I like to bring the focus back on is what a lot of people are missing, is that it's not a matter of doing good for other organisms and plants and animals in the world. It's like we need all of these various organisms throughout the world, because everything has its place and allows our planet to thrive and allows us to survive. So I like to point that out. But culturally speaking, like for Hawaii, we are related to everything in the world around us. It's in the creation chants. And similarly, in the traditional Chamorro culture, it was the ancestral sister Fu'una who created the world out of her brother's body, and everything, including us, emerged from that. So there's this familial and intimate connection, as first peoples of the Pacific, that we have to everything in the world around us. And that's part of the reason why we look at biodiversity as something that we need to, it's our responsibility and obligation to care for, because we're connected so intimately to everything.
Oh, thank you for that good answer. So there's this conference that's underway right now. You are a participant in what is called the WIPO diplomatic conference on genetic resources and associated traditional knowledge in Geneva, and you represent the interests of indigenous peoples in your region. How important is this topic to your territories, and how does it link biodiversity, indigenous peoples' rights, and traditional knowledge?
Yeah, it's a super loaded question. Really important. So this topic, genetic resources and associated traditional knowledge, it's very, very important to our peoples in the Pacific. And when we look back historically, we see how much of our plants and animals, our lands, our waters, both freshwater and ocean, how much everything has been devastated, destroyed due to Western colonialism, Western ideas of um, of economics and extreme capitalism, unbridled capitalism. I actually usually say, because of these foreign concepts being forced upon our islands as colonized people, we've seen tremendous loss of our plants and animals. I believe I mentioned this before, that I believe out of all the lands, under the U.S. flag, Hawaii and Guam, the Mariana Islands, we probably have like one of the highest, if not the highest, amount of extinction of our native plants and animals. And it's because we come from finite lands and waters. There's been a balance for centuries on our little islands that was super highly sensitive when foreign or the agricultural practices and economics of our colonizers came in. And so when we're talking about, how to protect genetic resources and associated traditional knowledge, it's super important for us because we understand what it means to not be able to protect. And it's something I brought up in my opening statement, the other day on the first, well, it wasn't the first day. It went overtime. It was the second day. But that, what's the use of trying to protect our associated traditional knowledge if our genetic resources, in the environment are being devastated, and it's very much connected to sovereignty and being able to make sovereign decisions to care for our traditional lands and waters in the best way we know, to keep them sustainable. So, I mentioned just in the other question that, we have an obligation and a responsibility to care for everything around us in our traditional lands and waters. And when we're not able to do that, we have seen how much destruction that has come upon our home islands to the point of extinction. And so that's why this 2 weeks of talking about genetic resources and associated traditional knowledge, protecting that's why it's so important to us.
Okay, let's move on to the next question. Can you talk to us about the positions of indigenous peoples from small islands of the Pacific region in this meeting, and tell us what some of the key issues are for you in this future agreement?
Yeah, we're very much connected to our relatives throughout the Pacific. We're one big family. We're seafarers. We're long distance voyagers. Many of our relatives are they are no longer colonized. And when we talk about small island developing states, that's, for many of them, that's an important perspective for small island nations. In the case of Hawaii and Guam and the Marianas, we're still, Hawaii is a 50th state, and Guam is a territory of the U.S. And so some of our issues is that sovereignty that I was mentioning in the other question, of being able to protect as we see fit, being able to negotiate, being able to enforce, being able to verify. It's difficult if we have to put all our trust in some office in Washington, D.C., to make these decisions for us, because historically, they haven't really made the best decisions for us, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Both. It's actually both, historically. And so then we're the ones that it's on our loss, because we have this status of not being able to do these things like that, whether negotiating, enforcing, making sure that these rightful way of handling with traditional knowledge and genetic resources and traditional cultural expressions, which will come later, making sure that it's taken care of in a way that we agree to, and then having recourse when we don't, when something is missing.
What are the main challenges and opportunities for the Pacific region for protection of genetic resources? And give us some examples from your region.
Yes, so it ties into what I just was mentioning with our challenges. We just came from a meeting just about 2 hours ago with the U.S. delegation out here, and they're talking about how to honor past treaties, and if it was already built in to honor traditional knowledge holders, and how does that carry on into patents, patent applicants in the future and all that, and it's really wonderful, and I'm really happy to hear when our Native American, Native Alaskan brothers and sisters, when they have these kind of treaties that they can not claim, but they can refer to and say, like, this is our protections that we have had up to now, and work it into this new document, this new instrument. But again, one of the big challenges, is like, if as an island people, if you didn't have, we don't have these treaties. And so how do we make sure that when this instrument turns into national policy, how do we make sure that they're aware that without these treaties, these prior treaties, that we still need the same protections. That there should be no mistake that because we don't have these treaties, we're gonna have less protections. And so I'm always cognizant of that. I'm always bringing these up in the conversations. When we talk about let's say database, information systems, and giving credit where credit is due, and resulting from credit, making sure that the benefits are shared, whatever benefits that may come from those seeking patents or whatnot. But how do we, as islands so far away, how do we make sure that we are afforded the same opportunity to make sure that our traditional knowledge holders and the genetic resources from our specific islands and specific valleys and coastal environments, how do we make sure that those are notated correctly and honored, and as a result, the benefits are shared correctly for our people. So those are some of the challenges, that unique challenges that we have as for lack of a post-colonial society. Some of our islands have, the Hawaiian Islands, the Mariana Islands. Well, you could say Mariana Islands are still colonized because we're on the list of self-governing territories, maybe about 15 in the whole world still yet. So the UN recognizes that too. But even Hawaii as this 50th state, that's a challenge of trying to make sure that nothing's lost because there's no treaties. Hope that makes sense.
Got you. It does make sense indeed. The theme of this year's International Day for Biological Diversity is be part of the plan. So to end off, what does this mean to you personally to be part of the plan? And is there a message that you would like to share with all of our listeners?
Yes, I really like that you're asking this, because I'm really, I preach this, about being part of the plan in Hawaii. We are organizations. We have an agreement to take care of an endangered plant sanctuary that's with the city government. Sinkhole sanctuary. That landscape is like you're almost all entirely erased, and there, for example, when the Evahina in the sanctuary was one specimen, it's now 9 specimens. Just a little thing, right? Replanting the native vegetation and the traditional agriculture that used to take place in this environment that no longer exists, right? It's very, very, very little natural environment with these sinkholes, because sinkholes been bulldozed and covered up. But still, using traditional agricultural methods in this environment, in this little sanctuary. And then we have a traditional fishery. This fishing grounds was established in the ancient times, but due to tourism and industrial development and the pollution that came with it, our fishery has declined drastically. It's just not the same, even to the point of using TNT to dynamite and make lagoons for the tourists. So, it's a matter of priorities, historically speaking. But what we've done is that, in agreement with our State Department of Land and Natural Resources, they've allowed us to come in and monitor the limu, the seaweed, and start the replanting of coral, which is the the most important, building block for our marine resources, because the coral a healthy coral system brings in the little marine organisms, bring in the small fish, bring in the larger fish, and all of this is for our sustenance. And when you look at the big picture, this fishery is such a small part on our small island, and our endangered plant sanctuary with the traditional agriculture is such a small little area in the whole island, but we're doing something, and that's the thing that I tell people in our cultural school, as part of being in our cultural school, this is what we need to do. We need to put in time, and we say malama, to nurture and care. Malama aina, care for the land. Malama kai, care for the sea. And it's might look small, and it is small, but it's something that we're doing, and I encourage everyone to do the same. I've already started that also in Guam with the cultural natural resources there, and that has its own history of extreme powerlessness due to colonialism and the military having like the emperor's power over everyone, but the ability and the right, indigenous right, the human right to be allowed to steward the land once again, these lands and waters that our ancestors all cared for, to reaffirm that this is our right. And not only that, when we're allowed to do that, we allow our lands and waters to thrive again. Therefore, we can thrive as indigenous communities, indigenous peoples again, and as a result, the entire road, thrives. But my whole point is, do something. Don't think it's so small and irrelevant, because when you do these things and other people follow, and next thing you know, everybody is doing the good work. So, yeah, that's my words right there.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Or as they say in Hawaii, mahalo.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Polina, and yeah, brother, you come visit us someday.
I will. Dietrix Jon Ulukoa Duhaylonsod, we say thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us about this very, very important information that we will share with our indigenous brothers and sisters. Thank you, brother.
Thank you for letting me share my thoughts. Aloha.
Indigenous Rights Radio, because knowledge is power.